Hey everyone, welcome to FernyTalk. My name is Ferny. I'm your resident psychic medium and person, psychic medium. On this episode of FernyTalk, I am going to talk about boundaries, and I'm also going to recap you on what I've done this week and what's been going on with me lately. And then I'm also going to answer some of your questions and do readings later on in the broadcast. So if you want to start answering or asking your questions now, go ahead in the comment section, type in your question. Be specific. It is a common discrepancy that psychics know everything and that we see and know everything about your life, and we really don't. We're not mind readers. So if you want to ask a specific question, go ahead and type it in the comment section below, and when I get to that portion of the broadcast, I'll go ahead and answer your questions, and we'll have some one-on-one time with Ferny. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about, let's see, let me get my windows right here. I want to talk to you guys about this week and what's going on. It's like the week before Thanksgiving. I think everybody is starting to freak out and everybody's starting to like, oh my gosh, like it's Thanksgiving, it's Thanksgiving. I'm already starting to feel it now because I've got like all these different things going on. Let's see, Kayla. Yes, well, you can ask any question about any subject matter. Don't ask anything about mediumship as far as like connecting with your loved ones in spirit because that requires like a completely different type of interaction with you guys. So you can ask about anything in your life you want to ask about. You can ask about spirituality. You can ask about like angels. You can ask about spirit guides. You can ask about the other side. What it's like being a medium. I can actually share that information with you guys. But as far as like questions about your loved ones in spirit, like that's just going to be a whole different process. But if you want to ask about your specific life circumstances or whatever, feel free to go ahead and ask about that. I'm more than welcome. I more than welcome those kinds of questions. I am not having a guest today. Actually, it's going to be all me, all Ferny, all the time. Right? I think that's too much for everybody. But so Thanksgiving, yeah. So I'm feeling it now because it's like a week away from Thanksgiving, and I think that we're all starting to be like, okay, it's like 1 week away. It's 1 week away, 1 week away, 1 week away. This year has like gone by super, super fast. I am surprised at how quickly this year went by, and the summer. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about the interruption. For some reason, my streaming like stopped. I don't know what that was about. But I'm back now, so hopefully you can see me. Give me a thumbs up if you can see me, and go ahead and type in your questions, any psychic questions you want to ask me. But Thanksgiving, I was talking about Thanksgiving before I was rudely interrupted by the software I'm using. So I am going to this Friday. I'm going to actually Saturday. I'm going to like a friendsgiving. Or a bunch of people are getting together and they're like celebrating as friends before an actual Thanksgiving. So I'm going to make some dressing for that, and that's all I'm doing for that. But then next well, of course, during Thanksgiving, I always get together with my partner's mom, and we join forces and we throw like a combined Thanksgiving dinner. So I always help her with the food. And in the beginning, when we first started to date, I remember like I used to do a lot more of the food, helping her with the food, because she goes all out. She does like turkey and ham, and she does like dressing and mashed potatoes. She makes like 5 or 6 different types of desserts. She makes sweet potato pie. I mean, she makes all these different things. So when we first started to date, I would go over and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna help you with everything." And so I'd be like super eager and trying to help her with all of the recipes and all of the food. As the years to progress, I'm more like chill and laid back, and I'm like, I'm just gonna chill here and just wait till it's my turn to make like macaroni and cheese because I have world's famous macaroni and cheese. I actually learned the recipe from Rachel Ray, which is funny. She has a really good recipe, Rachel Ray. But now I only do like a few things. I don't make everything with her. But it's funny how it's progressed over the years. I just do less and less just because I'm getting more lazier, and I don't want to put as much effort into it. Now we don't even get dressed up. Well, I don't get dressed up. I have this rule on Thanksgiving where it's the same thing for Christmas. Like I really don't want to get dressed up. It's like it's enough to have to go through all that trouble, make all that food. We're exhausted by the end of the day, so I prefer to wear pajamas, and that's what I do. I will go over and just be in pajamas the entire day while we're cooking. So, and my partner, I think one year he got really dressed up. He had a bow tie and he was dressed to impress. Look real, real super cute. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time to be uncomfortable, be restricted, feel like I'm in a prison within my clothing. And then on top of that, I have to make like help with all this food, and it's gonna be hot in the kitchen because it's too much like heat coming out of the oven and all of that. So no, we don't do none of that. So that's what I'm planning on doing for Thanksgiving. And then the day after Thanksgiving, I'm also hopefully doing a joint, like after Thanksgiving dinner with my cousin and that side of the family. And that's actually my cousin whose mom passed away this year, my aunt who passed away a few months ago. And it's their first Thanksgiving without my aunt. So they're kind of depressed. She's not looking forward to it. But it's like, it's important to keep the traditions going. It's important to keep things going, even for, for family, because it helps us move forward. So I'm going to get together with her, and we're going to combine forces and make a few things together. So I've got quite a bit of cooking that I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So I hope you guys are going to have a good Thanksgiving too. And that brings up an important topic: family. I think that family is wonderful. I think family is great. Just not 100% of my life, just not 100% of the time. I think it's important for us that we have good connections with family members, that we have healthy relationships with family. But I haven't always had the best experiences with family. Growing up and going through my life, my relationships with family, with certain family members, has always been a hit or miss. There are certain people that I've had great relationships with. There are certain people that the relationships were iffy, and I only felt negativity or just judgment coming from those people. And over the years, I've actually pushed those people away and kind of out of my life. And even though I may come together with those people every now and then, sporadically, usually when someone passes away, I really do keep people at a distance, because I am a strong and firm believer that you should choose the people you want to surround yourself with in your life. I'm always telling my sister, look at the people around you, look at the people you surround yourself with, and this includes family and friends, because that's a reflection of who you are. So the people that you surround yourself with are a reflection of the kind of person you are going to be in life. They are reflecting to you the person you are in that moment. And if you look at your friends and you judge your friends, or you look at the people around you and you're like, I don't want to be like them, or I'm better than that, I don't want to be like that, then what love trumps all. And so it doesn't matter whether you were born into a family, whether you have blood ties. I believe it is so important that you choose the people you wish to surround yourself with. Now, when it comes to time to like certain events in the year, like Thanksgiving or Christmas, yeah, you're going to be around people you would prefer not to be around. And the best thing to do is just simply to make the best out of the situation and go in there with a strong sense of self and a strong sense of character. Because if you are easily affected by those people, if their picks at you or their behavior towards you affects you really easily, then you do not have a sense of self, a strong sense of self. You don't know who you really are, and you're still trying to be something else, but you're still so heavily impacted and affected by those people. Back when I was trying to transform myself and I was trying to become more spiritual and trying to evolve and become a better person, I didn't like who I was, and I decided that I was going to be a better person. So I chose to change because it served me. All right, I'm back. I don't know what's going on, but my live thing went down again. So, tricky software, right? Tricky software. What I was saying was, back when I would go back into those environments with family members and friends, I would be impacted by those people. Like their reactions, the way that they behaved, the way that anything that they would say would immediately trigger, like me to become upset or me to become affected. And so I would like feed into it. I would go into it, and it would bring up my old self. My old self would come forward, and I'd start to react to those people. So I had to spend quite a bit of time away. Okay, so I'm having like epic failures here. I have had to restart my computer like all over again to see if this will clear it all up. And I haven't had issues with this program before, but now it's really starting to like get on my nerves. Hopefully this will stick. If this doesn't, if this goes down, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I'm not used to having these kinds of technical issues on a regular basis with my program. But again, so as I was stating before, thank you all if you're bearing with me through these technical issues. Thank you so much for bearing with me. Again, post your questions in the comment section below, and I will get to them soon. If you posted them in the first live, go ahead and post them here now. Again, be specific. Remember, I don't like read minds, and I know everything about you. So if you want a specific answer, ask a specific question. So please excuse all of the mess with the technical difficulties. maybe my energy, maybe it's my energy, maybe I'm too much for the system. I think that's what it is. I think that makes me feel better just to think that maybe I'm too much for the software, the system, and it just can't keep up with me. Maybe that's what it is, right? But what I was trying to mention earlier was that sometimes when you try to change or you try to be someone that you want to be, that you choose to be, and you go back into situations where family are there and they trigger your old behavior, your old your old reaction, then what happens is that you start to have issues, you start to have trouble keeping up with like the new self, because then all of a sudden like you want to act a new way, you want to be this new person that you've like designed yourself to be or chosen yourself to be, but then you get triggered by these old behaviors, these old people in your life, and then all of a sudden you find yourself like reacting the same way you used to. And so I for a while was still doing that. So I had to spend like some quality time really away from certain people in my family just so that I could choose, get more comfortable with my sense of self. And once I got more comfortable with my sense of self, now when I can go into those environments, it's easier for me to sustain that and not slip back into those old habits or old behaviors. So if you don't have a strong sense of self, when you go around family and you start to interact or deal with family members and they trigger you, you're going to immediately go back to your old habitual way of reacting to things. So you've got to get strong in your sense of self. And that's why it is so important to set up or establish boundaries with people, establish boundaries, because who you present yourself to be and what you say to others, that is what you say to others as far as what's acceptable. You know, this behavior is acceptable, this is acceptable, this is acceptable. If you start to say this is acceptable to people by not by going along with whatever interaction is happening, then you are training people how to treat you. You are training people how to act around you. So you want to be careful with the way that you react to people, the way that you give them like instructions. You're teaching people, you're training people how to treat you, and so you want to set boundaries. And so one of the most important boundaries you can establish is by saying no. And it's one of the hardest ones you can do, is just to say no. Say no to people, and you might come off like a complete bitch. It's okay. Like, it's okay to be a complete bitch. You might seem like a bad person. I once gave someone, because I have a truck, right? I once, when back at Starbucks, when I was working at Starbucks, I had an employee or a partner, and she was moving, so I offered to help her with her move free of charge. I didn't charge her anything. And so I helped her move some things from one location to another. And then another partner overheard that I had helped that person, one person, with their move, and they're like, "Oh well, if he'll help, you know, Ferny's cool. If he helped that person, he'll help me." And so, of course, that person's like, "Hey, I need your help too. I want you to help me with my move and all that other stuff." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I've hit my yearly quotas for offering services for my truck." And anybody who has a truck, you will know that the minute you get a truck, everybody and their mama wants to use you for some event, some favor. Like, "Oh, you have a truck, Ferny? You can help me move this stuff. Oh, you have a truck? Let me borrow it for such and such." And so you have to be careful with who you say yes to and who you make yourself accessible to. So I have like a yearly quota. Like, I only allow people to use my truck like once a year, and then that's it. Like, that's it. I'm not gonna like be borrowing my truck out. Like, I could actually charge, you know, and I would be making money just like U-Haul. So, you know, why don't I start charging what U-Haul charges? And then they're gonna have to decide twice, or they're gonna rethink about that. They're gonna think about that twice, as far as asking me the next time they want to borrow my truck. So I ended up saying no to that person, and they're like, "Why? Well, you said yes to that?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I have a yearly quota. Like, I'm not going to just like be at your beck and call just because you saw me, you know, help this other person. All of a sudden you want me to help you as well. I mean, I get it that you need the help, and I get it that you need my truck, but I just don't feel like doing this more than once. And I've already done this before, and I don't feel like doing it now." So my answer is no. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. I hope you don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the fact that I don't want to turn myself into a mover. So that's what that has to do with. And I'd rather spend my time focusing on other things that are more important to me at that time. Now, that's going to make me sound like a complete bitch, and I'm going to come across like a complete bitch to other people. But growing up, I grew up with, you do what you're told and you make other people happy. You know, you have to meet expectations. So I spent a lot of time trying to make other people happy, trying to be there for other people, trying to not have people be upset with me or not have people see me a certain way. And it's taken me a lot of practice, which is the key word. It's taken me a lot of practice to get people used to me saying no and me being okay with that. It took me a lot of practice to be okay with people seeing me as a bitch and being okay with that. Like, you might not like me, and that's okay. So it's okay if people don't like you, if people have issues with you because you are holding to you're holding strong to your ground. You're being firm with what you choose to invest your energy into and what you don't choose to invest your energy into. It's okay, and it's okay if you come off like a complete bitch. Like, I'm okay being a complete bitch from time to time, and not everybody likes me. So people talk really badly about me, and some people will mention like me and say, "Oh, well, he's just rude or mean or whatever." And people get real personal too. Oh well, like that is what it is, and I'm sorry if I ever did anything personally to hurt you, but like if you don't like me just because I can be a bitch sometimes, then okay, so be it. But that's me setting boundaries, and it's okay to set boundaries with family. So choose the people you want to surround yourself with. It is so worth it, because then what happens is you start to clear out your life. You start to clear out some of the garbage personalities, some of the people who are takers, and they will take everything from you if you give them the opportunity. There are takers and there are givers, and there are people who are good balance between the two. And I try to be a good balance between the two. But I do give a lot more, and I still give I give a lot more than I take. But sometimes you have to set boundaries, because the givers, if you continue to give, you've trained them to take from you. And if you don't start saying no, they're going to continue to pull and pull and pull. And then you're upset and you're pissed off and you're angry because they don't know any better. You've trained them to be this way. All of a sudden, you start to, pull away, or you start to spend less time with them, or you start saying no. Even if you say no to one thing, and notice people are going to start freaking the fuck out. Like, they're going to flip out because you said no to them on something. They're like, how dare you say no? You've always done this and whatever. You're such a horrible person. So you'll start to clear house pretty quickly the minute you start saying no to people. And I think that's the best way to establish boundaries with people. Right before I did this podcast, I was looking online. I was like, I want to find some really good tips on how people can establish boundaries. And I read this like document for like Psychology Today, and it talked about 11 significant tips for like building boundaries. And it's like, pretend that you have an imaginary boundary, like coach there coaching you, rehearse what you're going to say to somebody, but in not one moment did it ever suggest just saying no and getting comfortable with the word no. It never mentioned that. So I think that some of us don't realize that saying no is the most important thing you can do for setting boundaries with other people. So I mentioned that, and I was watching this week. I'd been watching a few things, a documentary and so forth. There's a documentary that I actually watched, and it's called Emotion. And I mentioned this, that I was going to take a look at this. I mentioned it on my page, that I was going to take a look at this documentary, and I would like follow back up on it. Well, I watched the documentary and I was kind of disappointed. I remember watching like a movie like The Secret, and I thought it was really, really good because it was very inspiring. And even though there's way more that you can learn beyond The Secret, I thought, I was inspired. I felt like, oh, I'm going to go after, I'm going to like put this to practice, yada, yada. Well, what ended up happening after this movie was I was just like, I felt like I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And although there's some really good information there, if you don't know, and what the movie's about, let me just clarify. What the movie's about is about your emotions, like how your emotions affect your reality, and how emotions build up in our systems, our body, our energy systems, and it affects our well-being, and how to start clearing those out. Now, it doesn't actually give you specific tips on how to clear it out, which I hate it when people say, this is what you need to do, but they don't show you how to do it. Okay, it gets on my nerves. But this film, it just talks about the emotions and the link between diseases, and like how it affects you and how it builds up in your system, and how it's important to clear things out. Great information, but I was like I was waiting for that, like, okay, like inspire me, like tell me something I don't know, like, okay, emotions affect our well-being. I got it, okay. And I never got to that, like, oh my god, like aha moment. I never got to that, so I was a little disappointed in that. There's quite a few attractive people in that movie, but two issues that I have with the movie is, well, actually three. It never gets to that awe-inspiring moment, so I never feel inspired by it. It's still very informative. If you want to check it out, And if there's a second version of it. So I would check out the next version. It might be better, but there's a second version of it, so it might hopefully be more. I'm going to check it out too, because I want to see if they've made any improvements. But that's the first thing, was it never gets to inspiring me. The second thing about it, which is interesting, is um, it's it didn't give me tips on how to actually put into practice any of that. It suggested things through like teachers and coaches and all that stuff, but like it doesn't really give you tips on how to clear out your emotions. It just says you need to clear out your emotions because they're causing all the bullshit that's happening in your life. Okay, how? So that's number two. Number three is everybody's attractive in the film. They're all attractive people. Like the main characters are two people who are very attractive, and I feel like there's literally like two people of color in the entire film. Even with the teachers, I feel like I look at all the teachers that were talking, and I saw the main characters and all the people in the background, and I'm like, where are all the people of color? Like, where are the Hispanics? Where are the blacks? Where are the Asians? Like, where are all these other people? All I'm seeing are two white people, and they're like in love, and they're like at the end of the movie, they're going about, and they're just like strolling along, and it's like a perfect story. And I'm like, girl, it does not happen that way. So I think these really attractive, highly attractive people, and there's no people of color. And I was like, okay, come on, people, like let's get it together, because the world is a mixture of people. It's not just like one type of person. So not that I have any issues with white people, because I actually am very attracted to white men. I'm quite highly attracted to white men. But anyways, back to my story. That's my type. But anyways, no, it's like, where's the people of color? And I didn't see any people of color there. So I was like, what's up with that? Like, I want a mixture of people. I want to see the diversity in our cultures there. So that was very interesting and entertaining. But at the end of the show, I was just like, okay, I guess we're never going to get to it. So I felt like I kind of wasted my time watching the film. But if you want to watch it, give it a shot. Watch it. It's very educational, nonetheless. So, all right, guys. So let's talk about your questions. So let's go over to your questions. Okay, so let's go. Laura Ann. So, should I try and work things out with my husband Mike? We're currently separated. Okay, so when I tune into this, Laura, here's the thing. I almost feel as if one of you, I think you're more willing to work through, well, I don't know if it's you or he. I think you're more willing to work on these issues than he may. And the reason why is because as I'm tuning into the relationship, as I'm tuning into the both of you, I almost feel like one of you is mentally checked out. One of you is just like, I don't want to try anymore. I feel like it's not worth the effort. That's how I feel with one of you. With the other one, I feel it's like, well, let's keep trying. Maybe this will work out. Let's keep trying. Maybe this will work out. And it's not like the issues are not like you can't work with the issues. It's not like you can't work through the issues or work past the issues. But from my perspective, I just feel like one of you doesn't want to try, doesn't really care to try. And I feel like it would just only be a one sided effort, event, or situation. So I honestly feel like, I mean, you can give it a shot, you can try, but I feel like one of you is just mentally checked out. Here's what I will say. If you'll wait, and this is going to be hard because the holidays are coming up and most people around the holidays want to be around their loved ones, and this is only going to be a somber experience for you. But once you get close to the holidays, if you try not to force yourselves to get through the holidays together because it's the holidays, I almost feel as if right after the holidays, maybe January, one of the person that is mentally checked out may feel more like giving it a shot again, or at least trying different options or looking at it from a different perspective, and that may open up the door for you to work through some of this and see if this can work out. Ultimately, I feel like this is not the first time there's been some sort of a split. Maybe there's been a mental disconnect already, or there's already been some time apart before, or or a period of separation. But I feel like ultimately this might just go, you might end up going both into different locations. But I do think that right after holidays, one of you may be more willing. I will also say you probably need to get into counseling. I don't think either of you have the skills or the tools necessary to work through this issue. So you probably need to address this with some sort of like third party assistance. And I know people always say like counseling is such a cliche, and I know that some people have gone to counselors and they feel like that didn't help us. But it's, if both people are invested in trying to make it work and they put the energy into it, they could work through the issues depending on the issue. But I feel like this is a workable issue. So I would just highly suggest maybe looking into counseling. But I think the opportunity to possibly work on this may come right after the holidays. But even then, like I still see this going on. So if you can both get on the same page, I think maybe this you could have an opportunity there. But I'm seeing this. So for me, I'm gonna say this is probably not gonna work out in the end, and I'm sorry about that. So that is what I was seeing for that. Okay, so let's go over to another question. Let's go over to Kayla. Okay, so Kayla. So I've been trying for baby number two for a while, just wondering if it will ever happen. My 5-year old says she knows and sees she's going to have a baby brother soon. And so here's what I will say. Um, I feel that you might get really close around Christmas. Right when you hit January, right when you hit December and January is when I'm seeing an increased baby likelihood. So I think like the end of December going into like February, March. So end of December into March, that's a stronger baby energy time frame for me. Oh, here's one thing that I'll mention. When I tune into like when someone asks me this kind of question, like, "Hey, do you see me having any children anytime soon?" What I look for is I don't look for the date the baby is born because that's going to be really hard to tune into. I don't look at the date the person is it becomes pregnant because it's going to be really hard to tune into. And honestly, I mean, it's really hard. Even for someone as practiced as me, it's hard to tune into these kinds of specific details. That doesn't mean we don't get them. I mean, I've in the past predicted specific days for when things were going to happen for people, and then they come back and they expect me to predict the specific days, and I can't do it another time around just because it's like, oh, I'm surprised I got that specific on that. But what I look for is I look for the energy. Like whenever I tune into something, I'm looking for the emotional energy around an event. When someone finds out they're pregnant, what do they usually feel? Sometimes they feel joy. Sometimes they feel like, oh shit, like what just like, oh no, now I'm pregnant. Like there's those two emotions, right? So I look for those emotions. If someone is having a baby shower, what are they feeling? They're feeling joy. They're feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like this is going to be amazing. So I look for these emotions and I try to lock into that emotion and then I try to align it with a time frame. So I start scanning ahead in time frames, looking for a time zone. So when I tune into your question, like I said, the end of December over into March, during that period, I feel an increased baby energy feel, which means that either there would be a pregnancy around that time and it's a new pregnancy, or there's a baby shower. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a baby shower because it's not enough time. So my thinking is that between February and between December, the end of December, and March is when there would be the likelihood of a pregnancy. So that's the time that I would try the most and have fun at it. Okay, so that's Kayla's question. So let's go over to Steven. Ferny, yesterday the internet was messed up. I didn't hear what you said about my life feeling stagnant. Will things start to progress anytime soon? Okay, Steven. Today the internet's been messing up too, right? I don't know if it's the internet or if it's this program, but it seems to be working now, so I'm going to progress forward with it. So when I tune in to this question, here's the thing, stagnant. I feel like right now life is trying to teach you to just get comfortable and be okay with the status quo, with like how things are right now. Like I think there's a reason why things are stalled or frozen because you're not supposed to do anything. And so you're used to having things happen methodically, used to having things like work like from like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and lately it's just like, okay, it's 1, 17, 5. What the hell's going on? So I think that life is trying to teach you, the universe is trying to teach you how to just get comfortable, how to be okay with the present moment, incomplete, not in process of being completed. I think you're always used to things working towards completion or things coming along, and it's not happening right now. So for the next 2 months, I think you just need to get comfortable with chilling out and being okay with what is. If you can get comfortable with that, you're gonna let go of some. You're gonna let go of some. What is it? Some control. Thank you. You're going to let go of some control and you're going to let the universe do its job. And the universe's job right now may just simply be to try to get you to relax a little more and just go with the flow instead of trying to control the process. And I think because you have a timeline in your head, you're trying to stick to that timeline, and obviously you're falling behind on that timeline. So throw the timeline out of the window, give yourself 2 months, and I think once we get into next year, especially when it's the new year, things shift because I feel the new year brings a big shift for you. I also feel that there's going to be a huge spike or some sort of an improvement with your revenue and work around January. So January feels good for revenue or more income sources. So just be patient and just kind of go with the flow. If you are waiting for work to be done, or if you're waiting for something to be completed in your life, it's not getting done in time, just be okay. Just like, you know what, I'm just going to do the best that I can for the next month or so, or the next month and a half. And then you'll see things change once you hit the new year. So that's what I was suggesting to you last time when we were on our Ingrid's call. So, all right. So let's go over to Brenda's question. Do you see us getting a home soon, and how do you see my health? Two opportunities for homes. I think that in the next 2 to 3 months, I think you're going to have one opportunity for a new home. Something's going to be off with it. Either the inspection doesn't go well, the trying to get the loan isn't going to work out. Something might go off. So you might try for it, but I feel like the process isn't going to work out for you. So that's one. But then once you get closer to May, I think there's another opportunity in May. You're going to have to move fast because it might become a competition to get this piece of property in May. And if you wait too long, you might miss it. So I think that May is going to be the best opportunity or the best time for you to get to get into a property that might be a good fit for you guys. So I'm thinking that May. So yeah. As far as your health is concerned, two things. You might start noticing fluctuations with your weight or with your your water retention levels and weight. I think that's all leading up to hormones, and it's leading up to your endocrine system. So take a look at that, particularly your thyroid, because I keep seeing your thyroid. So take a look at that as well. All right, so let's go over to another question. Okay, so let's go over to VG Gomez. Okay, so hello, Ferny. Will I move on to bigger things, or will I stay in the same company and move up? I think you're going to stay pretty frozen. I think you're going to stay pretty stagnant for another year and a half. I think it's going to take you a year and a half before a major change happens for you. The reason why is because I think you keep waiting on people in your job or with your work situation to get better. I think you're waiting for your job to get better. And I feel like they're also in they're in a holding pattern, a plane when it's trying to land, it's in a holding pattern because it's waiting for something to happen. The company is going through the same thing. It's going through this holding pattern where it's waiting for something to happen, and it may actually take a lot longer than is expected. So for the next year and a half, you might feel like you're stagnant and you're not really moving very much. You might consider a change in summertime, and I actually see you applying and trying to do that. You might be doing that now, but I see you trying to look at other options and so forth. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad situation for you to be where you are right now. But when you get into early 2019, that's when I see you actually taking more of an initiative and looking at other options around that time frame. So February, March of 2019 are going to be pretty key time periods for you. I also see more training certification around that time as well. And there's some sort of a city and health code vibe that I keep getting with that. So whether it's you training with some sort of city or health code vibe, or there's something around that time that I think is going to come up that is significant for you with that area. So I would go ahead and just be patient, just try to get the best out of your current situation. But during that time, you might actually see a change during that early 2019 time frame. All right, so let's see what else we've got. Okay, so I've got a good one here. So even though I'm not, I got an overlay here. Let me clear that up real quick. See, I gotta stay on point, Ferny, stay on point. Okay, question, is my dad still with me? I used to feel him around me, but now it seems like he's not. I just don't feel him. Okay, so two things about this. First of all, whenever someone passes away, usually within the first 2 to 3 weeks, they're very, very still tied into the physical plane. Even though they pass on to the other side, people do witness their funeral. People do witness the circumstances and the situations that happen right after they pass. So they've got a foot here and a foot there on the other side, and they're just it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so it's kind of like when you're asleep and you're in that halfway between state where you're half awake and you're still dreaming. It's like you wake up, you're like, oh, I was dreaming. Oh, I'm dreaming this now. Oh, I'm awake. Oh, it was dreaming. Oh, and so it's like that. It's kind of like that for those who pass away. Like in the first 2 or 3 weeks, that's that like back and forth shifting that's happening there before they're like really like like more so than not like on the other side. They're still with us. They're still connected to our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings. They're still with us in that way. But after that 3 week mark, you start to get less and less and less connection from them. And the more they ascend, it's like the way I talk about it is it's like we're looking at it inside of a swimming pool, okay? Imagine that you're thinking of a swimming pool and the swimming pool is filled with water. We in the physical world are at the bottom of the pool because we have issues, all our drama, all the stuff that we deal with in life weighs us down to the bottom of the pool. When someone passes away, it's like they let go of all that drama, all that heavy weight that we carry around with us, our relationships, our work, money, stress. We release all those things, and like a balloon filled with air, that spirit energy starts to ascend to a higher plane and goes up from the bottom to the top of the pool. Here in the physical world, we're still very much attached to the physical plane. And so we are trying to connect. We are trying to have more communication. We are trying to have more with those in spirit form, but they've started their ascension. So the further away they get, the harder and the less often you're going to feel those energies because they've started their ascent to a higher plane. That doesn't mean they're not around you. That doesn't mean that they're still not in contact with you. It just means that their influence is going to be much more subtle. It's like, you start off talking to someone and they're just in the other room and you're talking to them, so you can hear them and make them out from the other room, but then move them one room over. They're still talking, they're still there. It's just going to take you a lot more effort and it's going to be a little harder to hear them. It's the same process. So as they ascend, you're just going to feel them less and less. It's not because they're not there. It just takes more effort to connect with them, which is what I do. Is put myself in a state where I'm letting go of my earthly issues and I'm ascending to a higher level so that I can be more in connection with them. That's what's happening during the mediumship session. That's why, I always say to everybody, like everybody can do what I do. I'm not special. Like as far as like doing psychic readings, tuning in psychically, tuning in to our loved ones, I'm not special. I understand the processes involved and I practice them. That's it. And I've gotten better and better and better at it. That's all. That's the difference. You can do what I do. You just have to understand the process, which brings me to a topic. For those of you who don't know, I do have a psychic class available on Udemy. I definitely would recommend you check out the class. This class is going to help you guys practice and develop your psychic abilities. And people are always asking me all the time, like, Ferny, how do I practice my psychic abilities? How do I tune in to my psychic abilities? And this is how you do it. You tune in by practicing, by understanding the process, and by going through this course. This is how you develop your psychic abilities. And right now on Udemy, it is dirt cheap. So if you want to really like take your psychic abilities seriously and go to the next level beyond just like every now and then I feel something and it happens, check out my class. And you can get to it by going to Udemy. You just go to www.udemy.com and type in Fernando Marone Psychic Class, or you can go to my Facebook page. Just go through. I've got the link listed below. Or you can also just go to my website and then I've got it posted there as well. And then once you're done with getting the basics out of the way, because I can't help you unless you understand how this works, then you can take my advanced psychic development class or the psychic development group on Facebook groups. We have a private group and there's several of us, which after I'm done with this broadcast right now, I'm going to go over to the group and we have our assignments this week that we've done. And I'm going to go over and review and help people understand their own personal process for developing and using their psychic abilities. So that's about to happen soon. So I think I've got one more. See, I got one of my students here. So Paula here, she's like, great class. Yeah. And Paula, her progression in this class has been amazing. Like, I mean, last week we have these exercises we have to do and you have to tune in and figure out what's the object or what's the target you're tuning into. And she like nailed it. She got like exactly what it was, which was a tornado. It was an image of a tornado and she got it. She tuned in and she saw a tornado on her head, which was great because that kind of clarification, that kind of detail and tuning into that is amazing. And it's always helpful to be able to tune into that level of detail. And then at some point, if you want to go and do this professionally, you're ready for it. You're ready to go on to that and you feel more confident and you feel more comfortable doing that. So I've let's see. I have one more question. Let me find one more question here. Member experience here. Okay, so let's do this. I've got Lisa here. Ferny, will my ex-husband, my son's father, be okay with this unexpected medical diagnosis? Okay, so what I'm doing right now, because this could easily be a yes or no question. You know, I could turn this in my head. If I want to stress myself out or pressure myself, I could say, okay, Fernando, is he going to make it or is he not going to make it? I could ask myself that kind of question in my head and stress myself out. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to do a workaround. So I'm actually asking myself other questions about this person and their health. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to scan their life and go in for a few years out. So I'm tuning into this year, I'm tuning into next year, I'm tuning into the year following that. So I'm trying to tune into that time frame and figure out if there's a period that is more significant or that is something that needs to be taken more seriously for this person. So when I tune in to this person's energy, here's the thing. I feel that there are going to be two events that come up that are significant in trying to get this under control. I feel that coming February, there may be a procedure or there may be some sort of therapy or treatment that is pursued or that is pushed at that time. February seems like kind of a rough period for him. So he might actually have a really rough time during February. So what I would say is he might need extra support. He may need a lot of like emotional, like, I'm there for you around February. So that's one. As I'm scanning forward, I'm still seeing him. So December and January. So December next year, 2018, and January 2019 it's gonna be, I think, the most challenging period as far as the health is concerned, because I feel it's weird. It's not the issue itself that I'm concerned about at that time. I feel like at that time during that period, which is the December and the January, um, I feel like there's more happening than just that issue. So there may be, and usually people get sick during the holidays or people get sick during like the cold time, but I feel like his immune system might be really low around that time. And I also feel like I'm seeing swollen lymph nodes. So there may be some swelling of the lymphatic system or the lymph nodes build up in the lymphatic system. I am seeing something going through the blood. So there may be some issues happening within the blood and they're trying to balance out or get that under control. And then they're also, there's too much. The lymph nodes swollen, lowered immune system. Mentally, he's not all like 100% like pushing for like progress. And I'm seeing the blood and then I'm seeing this going into the heart. So here's what I will say. Around the end of next year, you guys need to keep an eye on his blood flow, his blood pressure, the operation of the heart, because whatever he's going through is going to put a lot of pressure on the heart. And I feel like there's something else happening at the same time. And then there's also, of course, like people getting sick or getting the flu or something like that. So there's a combination of things that may come up around next December or January. If he can get through that, then I feel that the potential for moving forward goes up if he can get through next December or January, because I feel there will be something in February, but then there'll also be something in December and January. If he can get through that, the potential goes up for progress and for improvement. But he has to get past that December January juncture is how I feel. So that's the time frame that I feel is significant for his health, and a bunch of stuff coming in at the same time and just him being like slammed with too many things simultaneously. So he needs to get through that December period. So keeping an eye on his blood pressure and heart, because too much strain on the heart and blood pressure. And then also, of course, like any kind of like diminished immune system capacity at the time, because his immune system might be too low because of what therapy or treatment he's on next year. So that would be the most significant period. So if you can get past the December, I think he could totally like pull out of this and move forward. Okay. All right, guys. My love to you and your family. So thank you guys for tuning in. I love you guys. I will be back next week, I think. Am I? Yes, I'm going to be back next week. Hopefully, I don't have all the same kind of issues with the technology next week that I was having this week. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you then. Okay? Bye.